The Cyber Warrior. This is Security Happy Hour, and you know you're here on CyberWarriorStudios. So look, my birthday is this weekend. It's Sunday, so we're going to celebrate. It's going to be an amazing episode. There's going to be some drinks to be had. There's going to be some conversations to go on. And you know what? To be honest, I can't guarantee this is going to be all security because we're just going to talk all things CyberWarriorStudios. And I got some amazing guests here with me today to do it. And so I promise we'll be right back. And if you want to be on the stream, please let me know. I'll bring them all on. I don't give a damn. All right. So we got about, as long as I want to, because it's my show. So I'll see you all here in a second. And I'm back. Yes, I'm here. That's right. So with me today, I have a repeat guest from the Cyber Queens, Natalie Baker, because she reached out and was like, hey, I'll jump on because, you know, I love your show and it's the shit and the best show on YouTube in comparison to the Cyber Queens, which is right there with us. Right there with us. I equate us at the same realm.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Mine is more alcohol-induced hilarity and yours is more serious. We've got to help people.
Yeah, yours is a lot more fun than ours. I mean, we have fun, but yeah, yours is definitely a lot more fun because you're allowed to drink.
That's right. And then I got with me Jesse Clark. Jesse Clark was introduced to me on LinkedIn today, and he's trying to do some things to get into security. Jesse, how you doing today, man?
We're doing well. Doing well. Thank you very much for having me. And Natalie, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you as well.
So while we're here, I want to say skull, cheers, salute, whatever the hell you want to say. I want to say it's my birthday. I love you all, and we're here for a party. Now, I already got one question. I'm gonna say that, Carrie. We will get to you. Please don't get mad. We'll get there. All right. You're already asking questions already, and we haven't even started yet. Jesse, since I know little to nothing about you, you were just introduced to me today. Please introduce yourself and let people know kind of what you're trying to do, where you're at in your career, what you're trying to get to. You know.
Very good. My name is Jesse Clark. I am 49 years old, and I have been a server for the past 12 years. Not a server as in the computer kind, but a server as in here's your food and drink. For the past 12 years, and I recently came to the conclusion that I have been wasting my time a little bit. And while I still enjoy what I do, I know I'm capable of more. And I have some time left to go ahead and make the transition and make that happen and actually do more and contribute more to, everything, to contribute to the world, to contribute to humanity than just doing what I do now.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. And that's one of the big things. So what a lot of people don't know, if you haven't watched any of my recent or the interviews I did last year, a lot of the reasons I went into the military and then do what I do now is because my goal has always been to help people, right? And because I didn't feel like I was doing that in the Army is one of the reasons when they said they wanted to retire me, I said, go ahead. You're wasting me. I'll get out and be able to help people on the outside. So I completely understand where you're at because there are certain times in our lives where we just want to help people and we want to help society and just make an impact.
Yes.
That's the whole point to this show, right? That's the whole point to Walk With Me. That's the whole point to my brand is reaching out, helping others, and making sure they get to where they want to be. Motivation Monday, Tech Tuesday, Security Happy Hour, Walk With Me, it all has a purpose. And so I 110% know where you're at because there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way to reach people.
And so I felt the urge, the need to do that and start making that transition. I started off by actually, I started teaching myself Ruby with a Head First Ruby book. And then it was brought to my attention that my local community college was offering free tuition. So I started taking classes at my local community college. I'm majoring currently in computer technology with a focus in cybersecurity, and hoping to have my associates by the end of spring in 24. And classes start up again on the 9th. I've got a class in Python coming up, but I went ahead and decided to get a jump on that. And I am within like a half hour of completing a free Code Camp Python course. Go ahead and get that knocked out and try to get a jump on everything there. So yeah, I used to be quite the geek, and I kind of veered off the path and returning back to those geek roots again. So
nothing wrong with that. Look, hey, we're all geeks, nerds, ADHD, OCD, you name it. We all got it. It is who we are, and we're here for it. So
it's time to embrace it. Bring it back.
Exactly, right? The way I look at it is nerd stands for neat, educated, rich dude or dudette or whatever. That is how I went through and got through middle school and high school and everything else. When people called me a nerd, I'm like, well, hey. But I'll be honest, I'm not neat. I'm not rich. But we'll go with it. It just allows me to fit the acronym to me. And I'm just like, we'll just run with it. So Natalie, when I first had you on the show, it was to promote the Cyber Queens.
Yep.
And I want to do a little bit of that because I think it's an amazing podcast. You, Meryl, and Erica are doing amazing things. But I also want to know what's kind of going on in your career right now. And are you making changes? Are you moving up? Like, what's going on with Cyber Queens and you?
Well, in my career, I actually just made a really big change and completely changed companies, went to a new company and a new role. I'm in GRC and I'm doing like delivery management. So I'm making sure that, the technical is meeting up with the policy procedure and getting through to make sure that everything shores up at the end of the day so that people can make it through audits and stuff like that. So I've been learning, I've the past 3 months, I've been just learning so much about GRC. I never knew how much went into GRC before until I started working in it.
I thought we talked about this. I thought you did GRC like when we had you on the podcast. Was I missing something?
I did like collection of artifacts, and I would review policies and procedures and stuff like that and like make them stronger, but it wasn't like true, not to the extent of the GRC that I'm doing now.
Right.
It was like baby GRC back then, and now it's like real deal. This is GRC.
So you graduated. You graduated, and now you're an adult doing GRC.
Yeah, which is a little scary, but
that's awesome though, because GRC is so important and it's such a pivotal role in cybersecurity, and a lot of people don't give it enough credit. And I'll be honest. When people talk cybersecurity, the first job people tell others to go for is SOC analysts. But they completely neglect the fact that you don't have to be technical. You can go GRC, understand the frameworks, the policies, the procedures, the risk management and asset-based risk assessments, and so many other things that you don't necessarily have to understand logs, logging, and the technical aspect, A, to enjoy cybersecurity, and B, to really enforce standards. GRC is what gives blue teams and red teams a job. Without GRC, you don't have a fucking job in blue team or red team, because who's going to hire you? Because no one's telling you, hey, you need to defend your shit.
Yeah. Especially if you don't have compliance at all. Like, there's no way of saying, like, here's a baseline of where you need to start your security at. And that's really what compliance is. Like, there's the old adage of compliance does not equal security, because, and there's a lot of different reasons why it doesn't necessarily always equal security, but it's a baseline for security. It's not the same, but it's your baseline. It's what you want to really start at. And this is where, if you don't have anything, this is where you need to really start at and build up to get it, so that you have a baseline and you're working from that baseline, and then you're controlling your environment to that. To what you need it to do functionality wise for your availability, your integrity, and your confidentiality. So it's I've been learning a lot, and I was always the person that like I never would have chosen GRC for myself. And I'm glad that I gave it. I'm glad I gave it a chance because it's a lot of fun to learn, and also I get to use, like, you don't have to have technical skills to learn GRC and be good in GRC, but if you have technical skills, like I was really worried that I would lose my technical skills, and that was always like my number one concern. Like I don't want to lose that. I've worked so hard to build that up and to separate myself, knowing that those skills and everything. That I'm not really lost those skills. I'm actually able to help other organizations, say, here's what you need incident response to really look like to be fully functioning for your environment or for these requirements.
Definitely. And I think, like I said, GRC is such a pivotal role. And when you have that technical expertise, it just gives you that leg up, because when you're looking at your ABRAs, your risk assessments and things like that, you can speak to it. You don't need to bring in another resource to talk to what you can already speak on. So I think that's amazing. And I think that kudos to you for wanting to keep up your technical skill set and, finding GRC like kind of meshes like, okay, I can keep up with this on the side, understand the terminology, the technology, and what goes on, but also talk to a company and be like, hey, look, I'm not going to do it. You need to do this, implement this and that, and these are the risks based on that. And I think that's amazing. So for Jesse and Natalie, we have 2 questions already. And I'm going to put the first one, and then we're going to come to M&T's. MT, I don't know. They just got 2 letters. People try to stay anonymous. It kills me. So
I am people.
I was messing around on Try Hack Me and with the SOC channel, and it says I can go for the junior SOC since they usually don't require any experience. Is that true? Now, Jesse, I know you're still trying to break into the field.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
As you were trying to break in, if you get through a certain point in your learning and in your venture, would you feel that you should at least try?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've often heard it said, and I believe it's absolutely true, that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If you can try to get in the door and you feel you have something to offer, then by all means, give it a shot. Go for it. Try it out. And are you going to know everything about any position that you go for? No, you're not. Anytime you start a new position, no matter what you're doing, no matter what industry, cybersecurity included, of course, you're going to be missing certain pieces of the puzzle. You're going to be learning things while you're there. Everybody else applying for that job will also be missing certain pieces of the puzzle. Are they going to be the same as yours? No, not necessarily. But you're going to be there. You're going to learn on the job. You're going to grow and your next spot. Or you're going to love it and want to be there forever. I mean, one of the two. But yeah, absolutely, give it a shot. Go for it.
Definitely. Natalie, what about you?
I absolutely think that you should try sooner than you think you're ready for it. Like, if you don't think you're ready for it, go for it. Do it. Go apply for those positions. Get yourself used to, if the worst case scenario is going to be, you're going to gain experience in the interview. You're going to know what type of questions you need to really know, what type of answers like to give for certain types of questions. And if you ever get stuck in one of those interview questions, just think through your answer. Like, you don't have to have, I was a hiring manager for SOC for a while there. And I never required people to have perfect answers. I needed them to tell me the why behind what they were giving or advising to do next. Like, next step is this. Well, why do you think that? Or why? Explain that out in your answer, because 9 times out of 10, if you have that right, if you're on the right track or you're thinking the right way through the process, that manager, maybe you're missing one piece. If you don't tell them how you're thinking through that process, they might miss the other pieces that you have just because you're only giving a piece of the answer. So really think through those questions. When you start to get stuck in them, think through it. Like, one of my most notorious questions was, if you were going to attack a network, where would you start? Very vague. But there are so many different possible answers.
There is. There's Because you could take it from a web perspective, you could take it from a network perspective, or you can take it from a social engineering perspective. And like, look, I'm gonna bypass all your firewalls and everything else because you know what? I'm just gonna fish the user. I'm just gonna go in, look at your users, and I might look at a few job postings just to see what EDR and firewalls you may be running. But generally speaking, I'm gonna just look at your users and I'm gonna send stuff in. Like,
Or if you're in person, I might just go to your parking lot, drop some USBs in there, and see if anybody plugs them in.
Yes, there it is. Drive by USBs. You know what? Let's just throw these out there and figure it out. Rubber duckies are for the win, man. I'm telling you, those are great. But yeah, so there's so much. And again, Jesse and Natalie, you're right. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And that is why, like, and I know the Cyber Queens have talked about it and things of that nature, that even when we look at things like DEI and diversity and things of that nature, there are certain instances where women and those of minority backgrounds don't feel like they should apply because they don't fit the mold. They don't meet that expectation of, oh, I'm not going to get the job because I don't meet all 1,000 qualifications that it's asking for. Whereas you're right. Most men will just sit there and be like, apply. I'm going to apply anyways. I don't care. I need 30 years experience. I'm 18. Screw it. I'm going to apply anyways. Like, what's it matter? But it's because I think there's a big difference in how you approach situations. And we're not as analytical when we're applying for things. If we want something, we're going to go take it. And we got to come around to that where the women decide, if I want something, I'm just going to go take it. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to go take it. I want this. I'm getting it. And it's just a different mindset. Not to say that you can't necessarily be a stay-at-home mom or do whatever you want, but if you're looking for a career and you're trying to make it, you got to get into that mentality of, if I want it, I'm going to get it. No one's going to stop me.
Don't self-reject, because that's what it comes down to. A lot of times we self-reject, and it's like, but if you just tried, you'd be so surprised what you can actually accomplish.
Yep, for sure. I got one more here, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And we got MT. Would you recommend looking at GRC for someone with much legal background?
Oh, I love this one. I love this question.
I'll let you go first, Natalie, and then we'll hit Jesse. Jesse, I don't know how much experience or research you've done in the GRC, so you might not be able to touch on this one too much. I hope you can, but you may not. And I'll let Natalie answer this one a little bit.
My answer is yes. I was, before I even came to tech, I kind of fell into IT, and then really decided I wanted to do security. But yes, paralegals, anybody with a legal background, you really understand how policies and procedures are written. You understand the importance of how you word the policies and those procedures and the processes that underline them. It's a really great field, especially if you've not been in cybersecurity, if you have been in cybersecurity. If you are from a legal background, it's really easy to excel because you're already so conditioned just on writing the legal lease, out on a regular basis. So right. I absolutely do. I feel that it's a really great field for anybody who's trying to get into cybersecurity from a legal background.
Definitely. I look, if it didn't cost so much, I'd go get my JD and go into cyber law, but I'm not paying for that kind of school. I would love to do it. I would love to talk rounds about people and around people and put them in, I don't know if I'd do defense or prosecution. I haven't figured that out yet, but I'd love to develop cyber law. I would absolutely love it.
I thought the same thing too, because that's originally when I first got out of my school for cybersecurity. I was like, I'm going to try to, because I was still doing paralegal thing full time at work. And I was like, I'm going to go to law school and I'm going to become this really great cybersecurity lawyer. And then the one lawyer I was working for was like, why would you waste your money and your time doing that when you could just go become an expert witness, Natalie? And I was like, oh,
that's
okay.
That's it. Jess, from everything you heard, would you agree that, having that law and legal background makes you really good in GRC? Because I say it does. but
it's definitely not definitely not in my wheelhouse as of yet, as far as knowing a whole lot about the particulars there. But from what I do understand, and especially from what Natalie said, yes, that certainly seems like an excellent fit.
Definitely, I agree. So I want to move on to something else, and this is near and dear to my heart because of the fact that I do look. Kevin's gonna make me drink. Actually, I might have to open up another beer for this, because I do have a podcast about it. But it's mental health, and in cybersecurity, I don't think we give enough credit to our mental health. I know for a fact, me personally, for years went without sleeping, with studying all the time. And I'm a big proponent of studying after hours. If you want a job and you're not in cybersecurity yet, or if you want to go for law or whatever the case may be, studying when you have the time. But you still have to make that time for yourself. I currently am seeing several psychologists, each for a different reason, whether it be insomnia or sleep or, my own personal mental health. So I think it is something that we have to prioritize. Jess, I'm gonna bring it to you first as someone who's converting, transitioning careers. What's
Yes.
your take on it?
All right. Can you rephrase one time for me?
What's your take on mental health and your ability to kind of improve yourself while still maintaining that balance, that mental health, that care of yourself? That I know I might get some flack for this, but for the most part, men tend to take less care of themselves because they've been raised not to cry, not to care, not to show any feeling, any emotion. So for us, that mental health kind of goes by the wayside. Not saying women don't deal with it too, but they're allowed to cry. They're allowed to show emotion where we're not. So in industry, in life, your take on mental health and trying to make a transition. How can we better ourselves, and where do you see the detriments?
Gosh, let's see. Right now, I'm working a minimum of 40+ hours per week while I'm taking like nine or so credit hours in school, and we've got a blue heeler puppy that we're raising right now, and a few other things going on. So, as far as taking care of oneself and one's mental health, I mean, yes, it's extremely important. You can't let yourself fall to pieces. Um, you have to be able to maintain. You have to be able to maintain yourself and your cohesiveness while you're bettering yourself. You can't allow yourself to overdo. And if you start to notice that things are falling by the wayside in one aspect of your life, then you need to stop and figure out how to best prioritize so that you're taking care of the most important things first. And while making the career transition is extremely important to me, my number one priority is going to be my family. I've got to make sure that I take care of the relationship that I have with my spouse. I've got to make sure that I maintain not only my physical, but also my mental health with regards to that, in case there's support needed by other members of my family. Gosh.
I think you answered a lot there because you're right though. It's so much so where I have a great support system. My wife has been nothing but supportive through my military career, through what I do, working full time and doing this. I still have my days. I still have my weeks. I still have my issues that I have to deal with. Again, hence the reason me talking to doctors. But it has always been like a stigma, and especially in the military, male or female. Don't go see a doctor in the military, heaven forbid.
You'll get
Then all of
chaptered
a
out
sudden,
real quick.
it's horrible.
That was how it was. Yep.
Yep. So it's one of those things that I look at. Now, Natalie, from your experience, and again, I did state that women technically are allowed to show emotions, and men are not. Hence the reason of me saying I'm going to get some flack. But what's your take on it as far as mental health? Because I know even women suffer. They have the same issues. They have the same problems. Do you find?
So it is more socially acceptable for women
Right.
to be more emotional and to show their emotions. But even if you're working in if you're working in IT or you're working in security, you're still going to be called the emotional female if you break down into tears all the time.
Right.
You will still get that. So it's not, well, it is more socially acceptable, I think, for women to show their emotions a little bit more. It's still stigmatized in a large amount of cybersecurity IT fields and stuff like
Right.
that because it's so male dominated, I think that if you're not prioritizing your mental health, you can't do your best work for your company. And that's really, when I was running security operations, I had to really take a hard look because Log4Shell just killed me, man. That vulnerability just destroyed my life. I was just like,
oh, you loved it. Don't lie.
I hated every minute of it because it happened right before Christmas. And then all through New Year's, and I was like, these hackers, can you just go away and let me enjoy my holidays for 2 days here? I'll deal with you
Natalie,
Monday.
we got a good one here. You know this one. Don't be a sick call ranger.
Lingering.
Come on, that's a great ranger to be. What are you talking about?
But I think that you really need to balance, and it's super important to find that balance. And managers, let me tell you something, you also have to find that balance because your subordinates are looking up to you. You might not even think of yourself as being being a manager yet. You might just be a leadership, or you might just have people who are underneath you that look up to you. Well, if you're not taking PTO, or you're working up teen hours afterwards, what are the new people thinking that are coming in under you, that they're seeing you set the standard? Now am I being expected to uphold the same standard that you're working to? And then you're going to have an entire department that works itself into the ground. Security operations, I know I can tell you from experience, that is one of the hardest fields. I couldn't do it anymore. It's so exhausting. And after a while, you just have to take that break. You have to, otherwise you will just collapse.
Excuse me. I've been there. I was a security engineer, senior security engineer for an MSSP, getting calls at 3:00 in the morning. Like, hey, there was a breach for one of our clients. I'm like, I'm not even an analyst and you're calling me. And it's like, I guess it's serious. All right, I'll go dig into the shit that your analyst should know. All right, I'll go do it. And so it's one of those things. But you also hit on another valid point, which is your management, your leadership. And I have conversations with my boss about this all the time. I love him. He's a great leader. He's trying to do amazing things. But at the same time, on holidays, on his PTO, on weekends, I'll see work being done. And I'm like, should I be working right now? Yeah. And because I've had these conversations, he'll tag me in something and he'll be like, P.S. you do not have to do this right now. I'm like, but if you're working, why am I not? And that's my big thing. If you're not prioritizing yourself, your health, your well-being, and your time off, that means I'm missing something. I should be working harder, doing more, doing better, whatever the case may be. So I think, as leaders, if we take PTO, you take PTO. This is no longer the military. You're no longer on duty 24/7. This is no longer a time where we take PTO and still work. PTO should be PTO. You put it in your out of office. You put it in your teams. You put it in everything. And you're like, look, I'm out. Deuces. Turn off your notifications and run with it. And I think that's really what we should really get around to. But we fail to do it. And I know a lot of us in cyber fail to do that more often than not. Cyber and IT especially. And I'll almost guarantee you, law, medical. Well, medical has a different story because I don't think they get any PTO. They try and they don't get it because they get paid hourly. So a lot of them won't take it. Because if you're paid hourly, why am I going to take time off? I get paid by the hour, not on salary. So it makes it a lot harder. So I think it's more to do as a Western society, in our country and and who we are as a culture, that's why our mental health is going downhill.
Well, yeah, because I think this country, we're so accustomed to just working ourselves into the ground for a company. And that's why the big shock with Gen Z coming up through and into our workforce, it's been such a shock that they're like, no, I'm not picking up my phone when I'm on PTO. Like, I'm having my time off. And that was really something that I learned from managing Gen Z, was like, if I'm constantly working 60 hours, 70 hours a week, and I'm not taking the time off, first off, I can't pour into my people the way I want to. I can't, help mentor them and really help them reach their highest potential. But at the same time, I'm sending the wrong message to them. And that's really where I was like, if I want to be a great manager, I really need to buckle down and make sure that I'm helping up. Like, I'm showing them that this is okay to take time off.
Yeah. And I saw Jesse was about to read this, so I'll put it back up. My boy, Sergeant AR here. The manager tells you to push through and man up will be the first to forget about you when you permanently hurt yourself. And it's true. One of the things we tend to forget is that a company can replace you. Whether you die, whether you quit, whether you leave, no matter what happens, a company can replace you. You are replaceable. But the ones that tell you to keep pushing through, keep doing things, they're the worst, because they're the first ones that are going to replace you. They're going to be like, I didn't care about him anyways. I just wanted the work done. I didn't care about her anyways. I just wanted the work done. That's what's going through their head. And this is why I look at it as, I don't like larger organizations. Everybody that wants to work for the Facebooks, the Googles, the Ubers, look, more power to you. Again, they'll pay a hell of a lot of money, but you're just a number. That is all you are. I said the same thing in the military. They don't care about you. You're just a number.
I found this on the web.
And Siri found something on the web. But you're just a number to them. When they look at the military, they're like, oh, retention's low. Yeah.
Apparently, by your words, you're just a number. Check it out.
Even my phone went off just now. But you're just a number. MT says it right here, and she's going to be on this show eventually when she fills out the form. I sent you the Calendly. You're a cog in the machine to everyone besides those who love you. And it's so true. You have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of who you are as a person. And even Alana, come on, don't do that to me. Even Siri thinks you're just a number. But I do. I think that it's one of those things that we have to prioritize ourselves. No one else is going to. That's just like your career. You want to get further in your career? You earn it. You prioritize yourself and you earn it and you work for it and you go get it. You want to make more money? Then go out there and go get it. No one's going to sit here, unless you happen to get lucky and win the lottery, and just hand you millions of dollars. You have to go out there and earn it. You have to work for it. And so I think as a society, we have gotten to a point where some people want to earn it and some people just want to just have it handed. And it's that.
I don't think anybody, I think Gen Z gets a bad rap because I think a lot of people think that Gen Z just want everything handed to them, and it's not that. They're willing to work for it. So, yes. And it's not that they're.
But they have their limits, which they should have.
They have
something we did not put on.
People who will take advantage of somebody who has no boundaries are not okay when people set healthy boundaries.
And that's why I hate the quiet quitting terminology.
Yep, me too. Yeah.
So Jesse, you're looking to transition to a career field where there's been a lot of hate on quiet quitting. Have you seen what that actually is?
Have I seen what it actually is, or have I heard about it?
Read.
I've heard about it. I've heard about it, and I've heard tales of it happening, but it's not something that I've seen any real evidence of in my career field. I've heard of the quiet quitting and people, slacking off on this and only doing only doing their job during certain times and all this kind of jazz. But I don't know. I really honestly believe that I don't know. I think this is another case of generational warfare, where the previous generation, in this case my generation, but not necessarily my current cohorts, are saying, "Oh, those kids these days," and
everybody does that. Every generation fucking does that. Kids these days are worse than us. Yes. Every single one.
And I think this is another case of that. Just because, as Natalie was saying, Gen Zers actually have boundaries and they're trying to enforce them. There's nothing wrong with that. America, in general, from everything I've come to understand, has a very almost a toxic addiction to overtime and overwork, and I can work the greatest number of hours and show you how tough and how valuable an employee I am. Meanwhile, in some European countries, if you're there past the time that it's time to be out of the office, they're concerned that you couldn't get your work done during the time that you were supposed to be there, and why are you still here? Go home.
Yep.
So no, I haven't personally seen it. I've heard of it, but much like so many other, kids these days type phrases and type attitudes, I think it's probably way overblown.
All right, I hear you on that, and I'm gonna touch on that. Natalie, I'm gonna let you go first, though.
I hate the term quiet quitting because, again, like I said, it's basically setting healthy boundaries, and and the older generation was never able to set those healthy boundaries because they were told, no, you need to work your life away. And now they're like holding that against the younger generation. And it's like a generational war. I feel that you can still go above and beyond and only put in 8 hours a day. It's all on your quality of work and the amount of thought and really consideration of different aspects that you're putting into it. Like, you can still go above and beyond and only ever put in 8 hours a day. You don't have to work overtime to go above and beyond.
And I completely agree. Here's the thing, and this is what it is, and I've seen so much of it. Look, if you have a deadline to meet and you haven't put in the work to be able to do your job and meet that deadline, and you have to work overtime, that's on you. That is your issue. I don't want to hear you got to leave at 5 when it's due tomorrow. If you've been given 2 weeks to knock this out and you can't do it, then maybe you're in the wrong level of that career field, or maybe you didn't articulate to your leader or to your manager or to your boss that, hey, this is a deadline I can't meet. Again, it is still something that is on you. You have not articulated when you can get this met. However, if you are meeting all the standards and even exceeding them and getting your work done and doing things, and you can work 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever the case may be, whatever your job is, maybe you're working night shift, it doesn't really matter. Then when you're done working and your hours are up, kill the notifications, be done with it, and walk the fuck away. There is nothing wrong with that. I come from a place where I never turned off notifications. I would go on vacation, quote unquote vacation, because it wasn't a vacation. I would do these things and be on leave from the military and still taking phone calls and calling work and making sure things got done. And I did it. I've been there. I've been the loyal employee who will answer the phone at 10 o'clock at night because my boss is calling me or somebody else. Guess what? It's not healthy. It's not good for your sleep. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your physical health. It's not good for anything. The fact is, we have been a generation, as a quote unquote millennial, but I bust my ass for everything, so I don't meet any of the fucking stereotypes that they put out for millennials. Fuck them. I don't care. I bust my ass for everything I get. I will earn it. And I think a lot of millennials will. They just wanted to enforce things that because the generation before them was too stubborn, they couldn't enforce. And now that Gen Z's trying to actually be like, hey, look, assholes, I'm more stubborn than you, so I'm going to enforce this. Millennials are like, oh, you're worse than me. Like, actually, they are you. They're just
more
brazen
naive
enough to tell you to
version.
say fuck you.
They're just a little bit more naive. They need a little bit more life experience.
Right. So it's one of those things though that I look at and I'm like, I've done that. I've played that game of being on call when I wasn't on call. I wasn't scheduled on call. I wasn't supposed to be on call. But someone called me and I answered the damn phone because I'm loyal when I want to do it. It didn't get me anywhere. Didn't pay me more money. Didn't give me a bonus. Didn't give me a raise. It was, all right, cool. That's part of your job. No.
You might get a thank you. Maybe.
That's about it.
If it was a good company, you got a thank you maybe.
Yeah. I got an award. Don't get me wrong. The MSSP I worked for gave me a huge raise at the end of a year, maybe a year, and an award and a bunch of other shit. Great company to work for at the time when I was there. But still, it's just one of those things that you should not abuse yourself to please an employee. Your mental health, your physical well-being, all these things are what should take precedence. Because if you die, if you leave, if any of these things happen, they're going to fucking replace you anyways. Nothing should take more precedence than you and your family. That's all that you should be care. That's all you should care about. The company, do your damn job. Get your work done. At the end of the day, deuces. See you later. I'm out. I don't want to hear from you. And if you message me, cool. As long as it's, hey, you want to have a drink? All right, cool. I'll go do that. But if it's, hey, this task needs done, I'll do it tomorrow when I come in.
Yep.
I don't care anymore. I'm not going to work overtime for pennies. It's just not going to happen. And Jess, as you come into this field, you'll see it. There's companies going to try to put you through the ringer. Look. I see the gray hair. All right, they're going to try to put you through the ringer, thinking you're just going to do it. Don't let them. Take care of your
you definitely
family.
have to stand your ground.
Stand your ground and be like, look, I got my hours. I got my boundaries. If I'm on PTO, I'm on PTO. Fuck you.
I look forward to them offering the possibility and from offering me the opportunity to say I can't do that. So
make sure that you vet it when you're interviewing too. That's like one really thing I would really vet for is like, what is your work-life balance? And don't just take it from your leadership, like the person, your hiring manager or whatnot. Ask others who work in that company. Like go on LinkedIn and find somebody else who works in that company who's like just started or something. Ask them how they feel work-life balance is.
That's one of the things I'm actually trying to do with LinkedIn at this point is I know that I'm still early in my career transition path. And so I've got at least a year or two before I'm going to be entering the job markets out there. And
Why?
so I'm pardon?
Why? Just curious. Like, why are you waiting so long?
Because currently I'm taking classes at my local community college, and I'm not even going to have my associates until probably the spring of 24.
You don't.
Are you doing hands-on training with Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, any labs, doing anything on your own?
I haven't really had the time to do that, as well as take classes and work and home life.
That answers the question because you're right. Prioritizing your home life and going to school and working full time makes it very difficult. The only reason I ask is
one of the things
what Natalie was getting at is if you're doing the labs, if you're doing hands-on and you actually know what you're talking about,
right?
There's no reason to wait for the degree.
I mean, I've been working with Linux as my primary operating system for the past 10 years or so, just because that was one of the things I could do to feed my tech enthusiast side. But it's not like I had a lot of time to do anything like figuring out all the ins and outs of Kali Linux and You know,
Do you think I know the ins and outs of Kali Linux?
You're up here
know you.
compared to a lot of people. The fact that you use Linux as a daily driver
Yeah.
for 10 plus years, you're like here. I still promote the fact that like you can use Linux as a daily driver, but unless you're using something like Ubuntu or I even think Mint, your printer is going to be a bitch to get to work.
Did you ever use
And
Crunchbang?
huh?
Did you ever use Crunchbang? It was a
No, I never used that one.
That was lovely. It was a great, very light operating system. It ran great on all kinds of legacy hardware. It was wonderful. Unfortunately, they decided to stop maintaining the repo. So, oh well.
Mint is amazing for older hardware. Mint
Mint
is amazing to throw on a 99 laptop. Throw the newest version of Mint on it, and that shit will still fly.
Yeah, but then you're still using Mint. So, I mean,
you have a thing against Mint. Damn. Damn.
It's not my favorite flavor. It's just not. But hey, I mean, that's why there are so many freaking distros out there.
Yep.
Because everyone has something they like in particular, and they want to make something that's going to work great for their particular industry. Or anyway, I could go on about that kind of jazz for.
I love ParrotSec. I love Parrot. I love Parrot Home. I love what Parrot does. It's built on Debian, so I don't have to learn Pac-Man and all that other bullshit with Arch Linux. I can just know Debian and apt and
try Gentoo. Oh, sorry.
Yep, that's another good one.
Man, that is a good one. I hear a lot of great things. I haven't played with Gentoo. I've played with Ubuntu, ParrotSec, Kali. I played with Black Arch and Arch Linux. I've played with a few others, and Parrot is just, I love it until the repos break. Until I go to update it, and it's like, hey, 404 can't connect to the repo, and I'm like,
is this Windows?
What the fuck am I doing here? Am I on the right? What'd you do?
Oh,
and this is why I run it on VM anymore. I don't even use it as a daily driver because it broke. I couldn't update it, and I was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm just gonna use it as VM.
One thing I was gonna finish up on answering Natalie's question about why it's going to be so long before I enter the job market. One of the things that the wife and I have been doing is we've been trying to get rid of debt and go debt free. So over the past, well, I'm not going to mention the exact numbers, but we will hit debt free by should be August of this year, and
nice.
That's a good goal.
Better than me. It's going to take me about 50 years. I'll be done and retired by the time I'm debt free.
It has taken some concerted efforts on both of our parts, but that's one of the things that we're trying to make sure gets taken care of, and then moving on. Now, once the associate's degree is taken care of, then there'll probably be at least a boot camp, and then I'll see where I can go. But we've got to maintain our current rate of debt payoff in order to be able to complete some target goals, and there's just no way for me to focus as much attention on the tech learning and getting some hands-on training and still be able to meet those financial goals. So
can I be honest with you? You've got more technical skills than a lot of the entry-level security people that I've seen out there in the job market. So that's why I asked why, is like, because you do have, like, especially if you're running Linux and you're actually able to use the command line, the CLI, instead of the GUI, like, man, you're miles ahead of a lot of people out there because they don't even know how. They're like, CLI, what? We don't have.
I grew up on DOS, man. CLI and terminal was my friend.
Yeah, my first computer was a 386 DX, but that was some number of decades ago. That was a beast. I was so happy to have that 386 too. Wow.
Yeah, for sure. I think my dad's first computer he bought was a Packard Bell, I think. And I crashed the hard drive. I was like 7 years old. This is how I learned how to fix computers. Again, if you go to my press site that has all my podcasts, you'll hear this shit. But basically, like 7, maybe 9 years old, I don't know, between there, crashed the computer when I was going to go play Commander Keen or Wolfenstein or something like that. My dad's at the full field. I call my dad's buddy, and I'm like, and actually it was my buddy's father. And I was like, hey, Bob, what does this mean? And he said, oh, you crashed a hard drive. Fuck. Don't tell my dad. Of course he was going to see it. I was young. I didn't know how to fix it. Needless to say, I learned how to fix it with my dad. We replaced the hard drive. And from that point on, I realized I'm going to learn everything I can about computers so I never have this issue again. And I did. And I learned everything I could about DOS, Windows 3.1, Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows. The only one I skipped was ME. ME I skipped. And my uncle was on Macintosh. I didn't touch an Apple until 2010. It was my first time on an Apple computer. And it was a MacBook Pro that I bought for my wife. And she hated it because the Sims kept freezing on her.
Now that's some serious stuff. You know, if your Sims freeze up and you know, someone gets stuck in the room, they can't leave or whatever, and then they end up dying of starvation.
Right? Like it just froze. Although so Cyber Dancer Danny. I love Danny. Thanks for joining us, Danny. Look, everybody else in chat has been here a ton of times except for MT and a few others, which thank you all for joining this evening. It has been amazing. But Cyber Dancer, I don't see her often in chat. She said, man, I would have loved to use Windows 3.1. It's so aesthetic. Look, you know what my favorite part of Windows 3.1 was? Klosky, which was an amazing puzzle game, and the mousetrap game where you were the cat that had to like catch the mouse. Those two games were the best Windows games ever, and they got rid of them for pinball, solitaire, and some other bullshit. They should have kept Klosky and kept the mousetrap game, and I'd have been happy. I'd have never had to buy a computer game ever. It would have just been there, and I would have been content growing up. I'd have been like, fuck it, this is what I'm gonna play. Vista. Oh shit! Don't bring up Vista.
Oh God.
I ran Vista on 32 gigs of RAM. It ran like a fucking champ for me, but that's because I custom built.
That's because you had so much RAM.
It ate half the RAM all the time. You turned on your computer and 16 gigs was gone. And you were like, me personally, I got another 16. Everybody else, I got 2.
Yep.
I'll never forget like Gold Army images with Vista and like.
Oh look! Don't get me started on those. Oh,
like call me and they'd be like,
So
Baker,
bad.
we need your help, and I'd be like, I'll just give you a new computer. It's fine, because that was my answer when I first got into IT. I was like, that was my answer, was just like, let's give everybody a new computer. Like, you get a new computer, you get a newer computer. You have a problem? Outlook's broken? You get a new computer. Like every problem, that was the answer to the problem, and then we ran out of computers, so that was fun times.
I wonder why. So I had an argument. When I was when I was working desktop support for another company. I was still in the Guard, so I had a different job as a civilian, and we had a problem where they would put cages on their computers so no one would take the hard drives. It was still retarded because they ran these really high-end computers with Quadro graphics cards, and then would wonder why they turned off. Well, it's because, bitch, Windows and your power supply recognize when it overheats, and it shuts the fuck down. That's what it does. And so this is why I don't hate. It's a bad word to use. I severely dislike Marines that think they're smarter than everybody because they have an MCSE. Because my boss that took over was a Marine with an MCSE. And so we had a computer shut down, and I said, cool. I said, look, let it sit for 30 minutes, turn that bitch back on, it'll run like a champ. What does my boss say? Replace his power supply. What? You've been here long enough. You know the company, you know what it does. I'm going to replace that shit. It's going to die in another 30 minutes anyways. You might as well just let them wait it out and turn it on. Replace the power supply. Dude, I've been here longer at this place. Please. Just let him wait it out. Replace his power supply. You're the boss. I'm going to do it, but you're wasting money. I said replace his power. I just said I'm going to do it, but fuck you then. So I went and did it. And lo and behold, it shut down again because it overheated because he was using CAD with Quadro and no ventilation.
Yep.
What'd you expect to fucking happen?
For the record,
Oh.
trial software, let me tell you, from paralegal land there, like that is the worst software I've ever had to provide support on before. Like in my entire life, like I used to literally just replace computers and be like, I'll bring back somebody else's computer that I already like re-imaged so that you can just have a fresh image of it because it's not going to work any other way. Like there was no troubleshooting it. It was just so terrible.
Well, that's just like malware. So Jesse, you've been on Linux for 10 years. I'm almost at the top of the hour. I'm going to ask a question and I want you to run with it. And anybody who's watched this show long enough or has checked private chat knows why. But I want you to run with it. You've been on Linux long enough.
I'll see what I can do. What you got for me?
What is your take, all right, on the differing operating systems and how people use them?
My take on the different operating systems and how people use them. Now, by that, do you mean the way things kind of used to be with the artists and whatnot that would end up having their Macs for their creation software? People with people who were part of symphonies and using it to do various orchestration
So my take on it is more modern day.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've been on it for 10 years. You've seen the growth of Linux. You know Mac is built on Unix. And you've seen
Yes.
Windows try to buy Linux and try to port Linux and bring PowerShell to Linux and all this other bullshit. Is there any singular operating system that can do it all?
All right. Is there any singular operating system that can do it all? I think probably the best way for me to answer that question is the same way that you answer the question, what is the best operating system? The best operating system is whatever works best for you and your situation. For me and for what I like to do, most of the time I function with Linux as my primary operating system, and that's just what I like to use. It works fine for me. If there's anything that I need to get done, I'm capable of making it work that way. I don't have to have a lot of the proprietary software out there that is run on Mac or Windows in order to get my things done. But that's not to say that everyone is going to be able to work with that same environment. There are a lot of pieces of software that require being run on Windows, or at least used to be, in order for them to be effective, in order for them to be user-friendly, and in order for them to be efficient. So that being said, I mean, your operating system is whatever's going to work best in your situation. That's basically all I can come down to on that. Natalie, do you have anything to add on that, or?
Well, I would ask for clarification. Like, are we talking servers? Are we talking workstations? Like,
So the common theme is Linux. Like you'll see a lot of hackers and security personnel say that Linux is the best. Just don't get me wrong. For a lot of things, it is very good at what it does. You'll see a lot of people say Mac is the best for personal use. You'll see a lot of people say Windows is the best for personal use.
yeah.
And again, this is all on a personal basis. I like where Jesse went with this because it's based on what you're going to use it for.
Yeah.
I have my own take on it, and I have my own reasons why. But Natalie, I want to hear your take first on what you think, for whatever reason, what operating systems would you say fall into what realm or what's the best?
So I'm well versed in, at this point, most operating systems. And again, I come from like a server background. So for running server infrastructure, personally, I hate Windows servers. They break every time you update them. And it's just Patch Tuesday is terrible. Like workstations, Patch Tuesday is terrible for Windows users. But servers, like, ugh. After
Until there's a
leaving
kernel update, servers and desktops are pretty solid on Linux. It's when that kernel update rolls around
yeah.
and then companies like, wait, you need to reboot this server? It's Linux. What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and for the most part, Linux, like if I'm running a server, I would rather run a Linux server because first off,
Yes.
I can harden it to my specifications. I can run a lot more different types of software and have a lot more roles available to run on that server. And again, the updates, I mean, I remember waiting 3 hours at one job, like one role that I've had at one company, like waiting 3 hours for Windows machines to come back up after rebooting because they were just still applying updates and they were just sitting on that circle screen. And then I went to like a Linux admin position and I was like, we just have to restart the services? Like,
Right?
and
That's got to do service dash. Cool, let's do it. Run with it.
30 seconds later. And then I got lazy and I was like, you know what? I don't even want to restart the services. So like, I'm just going to do script it all out.
Mm-hmm. Bash is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm with you. So here's my thing. And someone said it here. So we got Griffin who says, I still think Windows is better for most users for a desktop, Linux better for servers, Mac is overpriced. I've got a take on that. I'm going to touch on here in a second. We got Infinite Improbability AI, my boy SARN all computers can do it all, just some better than others. A tool that is both a hammer and a screwdriver is not a great hammer or a great screwdriver. Very true. We've got Cybersec or Cyber Dancer Danny. Most phones are based on Linux. All phones, with the exception of touch-tone phones, are based on Linux, or your basic phones, not even smartphones.
Yeah.
Even Apple iOS is
Yep.
based on Linux / Unix. It's essentially the same thing. Don't fucking burn me for that. I know people are gonna bitch about kernels and all that other bullshit. Shut the hell up. And all right, so that's the last one on this topic. So here's my thing. Linux has a lot of capability to run games and do a lot of things, but here's the problem. When it comes to graphic driver integration and being able to use it and manipulate it, you have to know your shit. You have to be willing to break the system, to fix the system, to make the system work for you for a lot of personal tasks like gaming or graphic design. As good as Linux is at utilizing your hardware and not utilizing as much as, say, Windows or Mac, it is very shitty at trying to render anything that is graphic oriented, whether it be video or audio or things like that, because the drivers have to be open source in order to be imported into Linux. Not saying it's impossible, not saying it can't work, just saying you have to know your shit to make it work. Me personally, I don't want to deal with it. So as much as I tried, I found out that my graphics card worked great on Mac and Windows. And I was like, fuck it, we're going with Windows because it's a desktop and I'm not putting Hackintosh on my computer. So Windows worked great. And now my videos render in half the time that it takes for me to actually create them, which is amazing. 30-minute video, 15 minutes to render, works great at 4K. I love it. But on Linux, it was taking me the amount of time of the video, if not double the time of the video, to render these videos because it was not utilizing the graphics driver properly. It was still trying to utilize the CPU. Now, saying that, if you're a scripter, if you're a programmer, if you are doing just about anything else, even fucking word processing, there's no reason not to use Linux. Like, if you're going on the internet, use Linux. If you're word processing, use Linux. If you're doing just about anything besides gaming or graphic or audio working, then use Linux. There's no excuse not to. However,
Unless you know all the shortcuts and then you miss your shortcuts.
there you go. However, functionality, and this is where we get into Windows versus Mac. Until Mac went to the Intel CPU, and now they're at the M1 and M2, which is ARM and a bunch of other issues. There's a bunch of issues behind the M1 and M2 and get it compatible with other shit. Up until the Intel processor, and now ARM, Mac was great for graphic design, multi-use, running multiple operating systems on virtual machines at the exact same time. The way it utilized hardware was top-notch. Windows was great for gaming, and yeah, that about summed it up. Because and ease of use, I guess you would say, anybody that was willing to work with a Mac, it was very easy to use and understand and be able to utilize. The price is where I had an issue. This is where Griffin was correct. When Mac and Apple built their own hardware, had their own CPU, or had Samsung imported, or whatever the fuck they decided to do, and it wasn't Intel based, it wasn't something that you can get gen use, then yes, their price made sense. When they went to something that was general populace that I could just buy at a store or buy online, that is when their price was no longer worth it. Because now I can just build any hardware to run on an Intel. And then they defeated that and went to the M1. Fuck them for going to the M1 because it broke half the shit that I know people use.
Me too.
Virtualization fucking broke on the M1, and I think they're at the M2 now. And virtualization is still fucking garbage. Unless you're literally paying for parallels. Because Apple wants to keep their own ecosystem and make you use Apple software.
Yeah.
Fuck them, and I have an iPhone. And I hate that I have an iPhone, but I have an iPhone. And I hate it because I love it, and I hate it at the same time.
You love that. You hate that you love it.
Yes, very much so. I love Linux. I'm a huge Linux fan. I'm a huge Linux supporter. Any flavor, any distribution, you can get your hands on it. You can do so much with it. But like Mac, games are the worst on Linux and Mac. If you're a gamer, don't touch them. Use Windows. The drivers, the compatibility, just everything just works. You don't have to fuck with it. It fucking works and works flawlessly. But if you're not a gamer, go to Linux or Mac. If you can afford a Mac, get a Mac for virtualization. Well, fuck no, they broke that with M. I just said they broke that with the M chips. Fuck it, go to Linux and use fucking VirtualBox. There you go. Now you have Linux virtualization. Go ahead and run Windows on VM. There you go.
Yeah, I will say the one thing I don't like about Mac is that I can't go buy hardware and build my own machine.
Yeah, that's my big issue.
So, like, I mean, if I could spec out my own, like, my own hardware, my own, what CPU I want, and like kind of interchange it out a little bit, then like it might be a little bit more appealing to more people. But they don't need to do that because it's Apple, so they're going to do what they want.
Yeah. So Brad, I just yelled at him. I said, don't get technical. He said PowerPC, and I'll throw it up on screen. PowerPC to Intel to M1 has been entirely about performance per watt. Look, just because you're right doesn't mean anything. It still fucking broke so much shit. It broke so much. And I know because one of my co-founders of the company I work for bought the brand new MacBook Pro with the M1 and shit broke. So I prefer Intel or pre-Intel. That's what I prefer because Mac just worked at that point. It was 32, x64. You didn't have to worry about anything. The way the hardware functioned with the operating system just functioned. It was great. Now, saying that, look, we are at over the top of the hour. Natalie, I want to thank you for joining us. Jesse, you as well. Before we go, I want to have Jesse give his final words because I know he's about to sign off, and then we'll go to Natalie. Jesse, go ahead, send us away. What are any final words you have for someone breaking into cybersecurity, mental health, podcast, you name it, fuck it, let's go. It's my birthday on Sunday. We're going to have fun with it. Just give us some final words.
Well, sir, I just want to say happy birthday. I want to say thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I very much appreciate the opportunity to, get out here and get my face as ragged as it might be these days, seen by a few folks, and kind of make my advent into the geek world again. But I'm looking very much forward to being a part of the community and getting to know you all a bit more. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you keep up the good work. I'm going to be checking out some of your archives, my friend.
Definitely, Jesse. And hey, look, you getting your name out there, I please, I beg of you. I may talk like an asshole, and I really don't care what people think of me. But the fact of the matter is you have a lot to give to this community. You have a lot of knowledge that you don't realize you have. Again, like Natalie said, and I said, just running Linux on a day-to-day basis puts you far and beyond a lot of other people in this field and in this industry. In IT, it's all Windows, it's all Mac. Linux is very, very limited in the knowledge base of the community. As much as we preach it and say you should use it, they don't use it as a daily driver. They use Kali, Paratech, BlackArch, something like that, and they just use the tools. They don't understand the operating system. The fact that you've been able to use it and use it effectively for 10 years, kudos to you.
It was a
You are
learning
better
curve for a
man than
minute.
I.
It was a learning curve for a few minutes. I'm not going to lie, but
It always is.
I started off with a laptop that I set up a dual boot on, and then I realized after a few months that I was never going to the Windows partition, so I went ahead and just erased it, and ended
All
up
right.
with a quad boot for a while, trying out a few distros, and just kept on going from there. So.
And hey, like I said, you're a better man than I because I'm back on Windows. But then again, I do content creation and you need to be able to edit videos. So
Well,
move on to Paratech. None of that worked for me. I went back to Windows. So, but again, thank you for coming on. Again, feel free to share the content, share the videos, share anything you enjoy. And that goes for every motherfucker right now in chat. I love you all. Thank you for the happy birthdays. But please share, comment, like, come back after the stream is over. Before we end, though, and before I give my actual final words, Natalie, give us a send-off.
Well, happy birthday. That's the first part of the send-off. Hope it's a good one for you. My advice to anybody who wants to get into cybersecurity would be don't ever give up on your dream. So many people will, self-sabotage or tell themselves they can't do it. But if you know that this is something that you really, really want to do, and this is something that you're going to go after, and you're going to put your heart and soul into it, don't ever give up on it, because the minute that you stop trying is the minute that you were just about to break in, and you could have gone just a little bit further and you would have broken in.
I completely agree with that. Now, before we go off air, before I send everybody away and go drink myself into my weekend, I got to say this. I am called CyberWarriorStudios for a reason. I am both about cyber and both fighting for yourself and for others. There's a reason I have Security Happy Hour. There's a reason I have the Walk With Me podcast, which is now, if you haven't realized, being ported onto YouTube. So, saying that, your mental health is important, your technical aptitude is important, and your people skills are important. I am here for all of you, and yes, when I am on this show, I am free reign to say whatever the hell I want. But I care about you, and I care about your mental health. So, please feel free to check out Walk With Me. Check out all the rest of my content on Motivation Monday, Tech Tuesday, which I don't know if I'm going to do another technical video, but I may. Who the hell knows? I do what I want around here. And Security Happy Hour, which is all about other people. It's about people like Natalie, Jesse, Meryl, Erica, KevTech, Griffin Infosec, so many others. Carrie's been on the show. So many people have been here. If you do not like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos, these people like Natalie and Jesse and so many others do not get seen. It is all on you. Without you, I have nothing. They have nothing. There's no purpose to coming on here. I want them to come on here for a reason so that others can see them. So please be sure to share this video everywhere on all of your social media. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And if you look at the description below, you'll find all the ways to support me so that all my pre-recorded content, I can maybe bring special effects back if you actually love me and want to support me on a membership basis through Buy Me a Coffee or start purchasing merchandise, which is soon to change. So I give it till the end of the month before I pull my subscriptions, and all my merchandise will change completely. So if there's anything you like out there now, please go buy it. Otherwise, I love you all. I have a birthday coming up on Sunday. Y'all take care. Have an amazing weekend. And I'll be back Monday for Motivation Monday. I love you.